It's 2004, a city of neon lights and late-night delivery scooters, of crowded apartment and close-knit families. But in the shadows of those same apartment buildings, something was moving. Parents started locking their doors before the sun went down. People whispered to each other in elevators. Neighborhood chat rooms buzzed with stories, stories that sounded too terrifying to be true. But they were true. Because somewhere in that massive city, a man was hunting. And what made him so terrifying wasn't just the brutality of his crimes. It was the randomness. He didn't care who you are. Young or old, rich or poor, man, woman, or child. If he crossed your path, that was enough. His name was Jung Nam-gyu, and for 2 long years, he turned Seoul into his own personal hunting ground. Jung Nam-gyu was born in 1969. He grew up poor, invisible. Even as a child, he was described as quiet, but not in a good way. The kind of quiet that made people uncomfortable. In interviews, Jung would later say that he felt rejected by the world, bullied, isolated, a ghost among the living. But he didn't cry about it. He didn't ask for help. He let the rejection grow like a tumor. And over the years, it turned into something darker. By the time he was an adult, Jung wasn't just bitter. He was filled with rage. Not the kind that you scream about, but the kind that waits, that watches, that sharpens itself day by day. And then he found a way to release it. Murder. His first known killing happened in 2004, but some investigators believe he may have started even earlier. His method was simple, too simple. A kitchen knife, a darker hallway, and a vulnerable person who never saw it coming. Jung would enter apartment complexes late at night, often following residents through the door. Sometimes he broke in. Other times, he waited until someone buzzed him in without thinking. Then, he'd wander the halls, looking for unlocked doors, listening for footsteps, waiting for a target. One night, he followed an elderly man coming back from the market. Another time, it was a young mother checking on her sleeping child. No matter who it was, Jung acted with terrifying speed. He would rush forward, knife flashing, stabbing his victims again and again. And when it was over, he left. No attempt to hide the body, no attempt to clean up, just blood on the floor, and silence. The police didn't know what they were dealing with. The crimes were happening in different districts, different times, different types of victims. There was no clear motive, no connections between the victims, no warning signs. That's what terrified people the most. This wasn't a killer targeting a specific group. He wasn't after lovers or business rivals. He didn't even seem to want money. He just wanted to kill. And the way he did it? So cold. So sudden. You could be brushing your teeth 1 second and facing a knife the next. The fear was so strong that it changed the way people lived. Women avoided taking elevators alone at night. Parents stopped letting their children play outside. Men triple locked their doors and still slept with lights on. Jung Nam-gyu had turned Seoul into a city on edge. A city that jumped at footstep in the hallway. That flinched at the sound of key in the lock. Because no one knew where he'd strike next. In March 2005, Jung committed one of his most terrifying crimes. He entered a family's home in the middle of the night. The door was slightly ajar, left open to call a room. Inside, a mother and father were asleep, their 2 children tucked in nearby. What happened next was a nightmare. Jung crept into the room. The father stirred, just in time to see a man standing over him with a knife. He screamed. The wife woke up, and it was already too late. Jung slashed wildly, stabbing anyone who moved. The children tried to run, but he corner them. Their screams echoed through the building, raw, high-pitched, and unforgettable. Neighbors called the police. They ran to the apartment. But by the time help arrived, Jung had disappeared, leaving only blood and silence. What made Jung different from other killers wasn't just the violence, it was the cruelty. He didn't just stab, he enjoyed it. One survivor said that he whispered to her, "Don't worry, it'll be quick," before plunging the knife into her chest. Another said he stared at her like she was an insect, cold, unblinking, almost curious. Sometimes he smiled, sometimes he said nothing. But what they all remembered was his eyes. Empty, flat, like he wasn't even there, as if he wasn't killing a person, just erasing a mistake. The police were desperate. They set up patrols across Seoul, checked thousands of hours of CCTV, interviewed hundreds of suspects. Nothing. Jung was always one step ahead. He changed his clothes constantly, never used the same route twice, never carried ID, never stayed in the same neighborhood for long. It was like chasing a ghost. And with every failed arrest, the city grew more hopeless, until 2006. After one of his stabbings, Jung slipped up. A witness spotted him running from the scene, his face partially visible in the streetlight. Police gave chase. It was a long pursuit through alleyways, across empty streets, over fences. Finally, they caught him. And when they brought him in, Jung didn't resist. He just smiled. In custody, he admitted everything. 14 murders, over 20 attempted murders, all in cold, matter-of-fact detail. To him, it wasn't shocking. It wasn't shameful. It was just what he did. When asked why, he said, "I just wanted to kill." In 2007, Chung Nam-gyu was sentenced to death. The families of his victims waited for justice, waited for the day that seemed him pay for what he did. But Jung had one final act of cruelty left. In November 2009, inside his prison cell, he tore his clothing into strips. He tied them together and hanged himself. He robbed the world of justice, robbed the families of the closure they needed. And just like that, he was gone. But the terror he created, that never left. Even today, older Koreans remember the fear. They still check their locks twice, still avoid dark stairwells, because they remember a time when a man named Jung Nam-gyu turned their homes into hunting grounds and proved a terrifying truth. You don't always need a reason to kill, and that is what makes the monster real.